Hi there, I'm Andy Mack and welcome to the MPC Academy. In this exciting brand new masterclass, we're going to be walking you through the process of how to produce a track inside the brand new MPC Key 61. We're going to be utilizing some of the brand new plug-in synth engines along with our iconic MPC workflow. We're going to be playing chords and melodies, adding modern effects, mixing and automation techniques to arranging our beat into a finished track. And all of this is going to be covered over 12 exciting episodes using the brand new MPC Key 61. So make sure you download the project assets in the description below so you can follow along with the course and you'll have all of the same presets, samples and track layouts I'm using. So let's start by listening to the track we're going to create. So there you have the track. So as you can hear, our track is filled with so many key elements in the production process, such as our drums, our key melodic melodies, bass lines, chords, to top lead melodies and effects to our song arrangement, which means there's some incredible content for us to cover inside MPC Key 61. So before we begin, make sure you download the project assets so you can follow along with the whole masterclass and you'll have all of the same assets that I've got. Now for our next lesson, we're going to start building up the melodics using our brand new plug-in instruments. See you then. Hi there and welcome to episode 2 of our MPC Keys Masterclass. Now in this lesson we're going to start building our track from the ground upwards, but before we get started I'm going to walk you through the process of how you can load up the project assets. Now once you've downloaded the project assets, put them onto a USB stick and then press the browser. Then we want to go to Places and now select the USB stick that you've put into the back of MPC Key 61. Now the file will be called Masterclass. Simply press this and press load. Now once the project has finished loading, you can now press play and start and you can hear the entire project. So as you can hear, this is the full track I played at the beginning. Now, so what we're going to do, we're going to build this from scratch. So we're going to need to go to a new sequence. So we'll go to our data wheel and we're going to turn this to the right and we're going to go to sequence unused, which is sequence number 2. Now, if you're familiar with the MPC workflow, you'll know your way around MPC keys in seconds. But if you're new to the platform, let's take a quick glance over the basics. So an MPC sequence is technically the name of your track or the song or the beat name. So this is where I'm going to be recording all of my different tracks or my parts to my song. So for this, we need to give the sequence a name. So press the A icon and let's name this Masterclass, just like you'd give a song a name. Now once you've done that, press do it. And now we need to set a tempo for our song. So press the BPM tab and now you can use a data wheel or you can use the dedicated tempo button to enter in your tempo. So we set a 1-3-3. Then if you press the bars button here, we can give our sequence a length. So we're going to just use 4 bars for the time being, and then we can extend the length of our sequence later in the masterclass. Then next to that we have our loop length. Well, we're going to keep that on, so we're looping around 4 bars. Then below this we have our track information and track types. Now MPC can record up to 128 MIDI tracks, and each track can have its own unique track type. So the first track type is drums. This means that we can access the iconic MPC drum pads by using expansion packs, drum samples, one-shots, giving you the full MPC capabilities. Now each drum program has up to 8 banks available across the 16 pads, so this means that you can assign up to 128 samples in one single drum kit to the pads. Now each track can also have its own independent drum program, which means that the possibilities are endless. You simply select the track and then select the drum program that you want to assign to the track. Then next to drums we have plugin instruments. This is where you access the incredible soundscape of MPC keys. Now once you select the plugin icon, you can now press the sounds button to access all of the plugin instruments for your production. Here you can see a whole list of all of the plugins available, such as the brand new Fabric XL, we have Hype, OPX4, Stage Piano, Stage EP, and so much more. Now when you select a plugin, automatically you now go into categories of all of the preset sounds available. So to select a sound you might want, for example, let's select warm pads. So now I'm inside all of the presets available under the warm pads category. Let's add the touch strip to add some effects. Now if I want to edit my patch, I can just press the edit instrument and now I see the graphic interface. And here I can just use my cue links, which are automatically mapped, so we can tweak our sound instantly. So this makes it really easy to navigate through sounds. Now let's press the main menu. Next to this we have key groups. Now key groups are sample-based instruments that have been assigned across the key bed. This means that you can play them as instruments. And we can use our octave shift. Then below this we have clips. This allows us to trigger audio loops directly from the pads. Then next to this is MIDI. This allows us to connect external MIDI sound modules via USB or MIDI DIN, which can be sequenced from MPC Sequencer. Then we have CV Gate. This allows us to use any of the CV Gate outputs on MPC keys to trigger modular racks with our sequencer. Now to start a track, we're going to stay on the plugins track type to lay down our first melody idea. So let's press the sounds button, and now I'm going to select Fabric XL, go under previews, we're going to select Flutter Sine Lead. Now we can also put this sound into our favorites. So anytime you find a sound you really like, press the favorites tab and then just hold one of the empty containers, hold it down, and now you'll see the sound there. If you want to remove the sound, simply hold your finger on it and then you can clear and overwrite. So now let's navigate back to our main sequence window, and now we've selected our sound, I want to start laying down the first part of my melody idea. So now we have our sequence named, but let's give our track a name. So let's call this Melody Lead. Once you've done that, let's press Do It. And now let's arm our track for record. And now we can play our keyboard until we find an idea. So let's record that. Hit record, play and start. Now MPC Keys has a really powerful piano roll. So press grid and we can now look at all of the notes that we've played, and we can edit these by using our tool select at the top of the screen. Here we can use the magnifying glass to zoom in and out of our screen. We can use the select tool to move notes, transpose them. We can move them back off the grid. We can extend them, shorten them, then use the eraser tool for deleting notes, and then undo to restore them, and then the pencil icon to draw notes in. This provides a lot of hands-on control. So now let's hit our main menu. Now that we've recorded our melody, we're going to navigate to track 2 and add the next element to our melodic. So let's name this track. So let's press our tab. We're going to call this Piano Lo-Fi. So as before, once we finish naming, press Do It. And now we're going to change our track type to plugins. And now you'll see it says plugin 002. So this is our second instance. And I'm using a piano called Urban Piano. Now if you press Sounds, Fabric XL, Pianos, and then you'll see Urban Piano. So we'll press Main Menu. So this is the counter melody that I'm going to be playing over the top of our previous melody. Now if we press the Edit button, I now go into the interface of the plugin, and what I want to do is add some lo-fi to this sound. Now we have an effects section called Flavor that allows us to add noise, flutter, and distortion to our sound. So this really puts it into the pocket where we want to be with this type of sound. So here's the melody. Now let's hit record, play and start, and lock this down. So now that I've recorded the first elements of our melody, I want to start adding some insert effects so we can really start giving our instruments that lo-fi modern sound that you hear on a lot of records. So on my inserts, I've already got an instance of half speed already inserted. But if we want to add another effect, go to one of the empty slots, and then we can simply select any of these available effects. We've got everything from dynamics, reverbs, compression, EQs, to vocal plugins that you can add to your tracks that you technically would only find in a DAW. So let's close this window down, and to open our plugin, press the pencil icon, and now we can actually see the plugin. Now to control the plugin, we can use our Q links, which are automatically mapped via the Q link banks to the plugin. So now listen to what half speed does. So this now really puts us in the modern world of lo-fi. Now let's blend this with the original. Now already our track's just got a great feel. So let's go to track 2, insert, and turn on half speed on our piano. So as you can hear, you can get some incredible results using the onboard effects inside MPC. Now we can even use the touch strip. So if you hold down touch effects, you've got a whole list of presets that we can choose from to add even more dynamic and feel to our melodic. Now to save your work throughout this masterclass, we want to press Menu, then we want to press Save, and now we can save Project As, where we can name the project and give it our own name, or we can save Project, which will overwrite any name that you've given your project. Now we can also press Preferences and set up an autosave under Project Load and Save, then Enable, and then you can set a time for when MPC Keys autosaves your projects. So on our next lesson, we're going to start using the MPC workflow to build out our beat around our melodic melodies. So see you on the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to episode 3 in our MPC Keys production masterclass. In our previous episode, we created the foundation of our track by laying down our melodic melodies using Fabric XL. This was across 2 tracks, and then we added some lo-fi effects. So let's take a quick listen to what we've done. So the next stage is to lay down the beats and the drums on our track over our melodics using the MPC workflow. So press the main window that takes us to our home page, and then we're going to navigate to track 3. And here we want to make sure that we change our track type. So we're going to change our track type from plugins to drums, and then you'll see the pads change into RGB colors. This means that you've got a program selected. Now the kit that you should have selected is called Masterclass Kit under the Drum Program tab, but feel free to load any drum kits from any expansions from the factory library. Just hold Shift and Browser, go to the Expansions tab, and here you can select any packs that you have. So now let's navigate back to our main menu, and the first thing I'm going to do is name our track. So let's just go to our pencil icon, press track 3, and let's just call this drums, and then press do it, and then now we'll press main, and then we'll go over to our time correction, which is our quantize, and we'll just make sure that we've got that activated. So just press the button and you'll see it says on, and that means anything that we play is going to be corrected in time. So let's hit record, play and start. So now that's laid down, we're looping around, and I'm going to press note repeat, but I'm going to trigger this with my touch strip. So let's add some triplet rolls to our hi-hats. So let's turn our overdub off, and then I'm going to go to bank B, and I'm going to select pad 9, which is a percussive loop. Now if I press sample edit, this will bring up the WAV file on screen, which means I can now edit this. So I can use our cue links to affect the start and end points, and I can use my pads to trigger the sample. Now once you've set your start and end point, press process, discard, and that will now cut the sample, so we've got a much smaller version of the loop. So let's hit overdub and drop this in. Now let's add some vocal textures. Press overdub. Now if we press our grid, we can actually see all of our notes. And I want to move the vocal shout. So I'm going to take my select tool, highlight the note, and then I'm going to use my nudge, and I'm going to nudge it back. Now you can use this process on any of the drum samples. So now I'm going to navigate to track 4, and we're going to add some more drums over our track. So again, we're going to change our track type to drums, and I'm using the Add Drum kit. And I'm actually on bank A, and I'm going to add another snare over the top of this and some percussive sounds. So let's hit overdub. That's our snare done. Add some percussion. Now I'm going to add an ambient sample. Then an open hat. And then we're going to add some more hi-hat rolls using note repeat and the touch strip. Come out of overdub, go to our grid, and zoom out. So that's the first foundation of our drums done over the top of our melodics. So on our next lesson, we're going to start adding a drone bass using Fabric XL over our beats. So see you on the next episode. Hi there, and welcome to episode 4 in our MPC Keys production masterclass. So on this episode, we're going to start laying down a drone bass across our beats and our melodics using Fabric XL. And this is really going to give a lot more low end to our track, and we're going to be doing some glides and movements with that. So first thing I'm going to do is let's recap and play back what we've got so far. So right now, all of the different elements are really starting to come together, but I want to extend the length of my loop to 8 bars. So if we press the Edit tab, here I'm going to use the double length. So if we just press that, that's going to take a 4 bar now to an 8 bar loop. And this means that we can just add a little bit more movement and rhythm to our bass when we lay it down. So I'm going to jump to track 5 for our bass, and I've already got our track type selected under plugin. And then our plugin instance number is plugin number 3. So we'd already used number 1 and 2 for our melodic, and I'm using a sound called Modrone. So if we press sounds, let's go into Fabric XL, and it really does have some amazing bass sounds, which are all categorized. So we have synth bass sub. So let's play some of these. Just select the patch. Bring the touch strip. Let's go to heavy diver. And you'll really feel these basses on your tracks. Let's go to a different category. Let's go to our synth drones now. See, straight away we're in that pocket with today's current hip hop sound. Bring in the touch strip. Now if we press Edit Instrument, we can use our cue links to control some of our key parameters. So the patch I'm going to use is called Modrone. So let's just select that. And this has a really nice texture for our bass. That's our bass line. But what I want to do, I want to give the sound a bit of glide. So to do this, we can select different tabs from our main button. And we want to select the tab that shows legato and glide times. And here there's a whole bunch of different types of settings that we can adjust. So we're going to keep it on legato, and we're going to increase our glide time. Then once you've adjusted your glide time, we're going to go back to our main page, and I'm just going to increase the cutoff just so our drone is a bit brighter. So now that we've got our bass sound set, let's play along with our track until we get the right melody. So now we got the right sound and melody, let's lay this down. So first I'm going to name our track. So let's use our pencil icon, and we're going to call this Drone Bass. And press Do It. And then record, play and start. Now on our next lesson, we're going to add some chord progressions using our pads over our track. So, see you on the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to episode 5 in our MPC Keys production masterclass. So in this tutorial, we're going to start laying down some chord progressions using some pad sounds from Fabric, adding some depth and texture to our beat. So let's have a quick glance where we are so far. And to do this, I'm going to be using track mute on MPC Keys. So if we press our track mute button at the top here, this means that I can now turn on and off the individual tracks that we've recorded so far directly from the pads. So I'm going to turn off the melodics because I just want to focus on my drums and my drone bass just to see how things are sounding. So now let's unmute our melodics on pad 1 and 2. So you can really hear the tracks starting to come together. So I'm going to keep tracks 1 and 2 muted whilst we lay down our pads. Now to do this, we're going to navigate to track 6. And now let's name our track. So let's press our pencil icon and we're going to call this pads number 1. Then we press do it. Then go to our main home page. And then we're going to change our track plugin number to number 4. Now, this is using Fabric XL, and I'm using a patch called Chocolate. So if you hit Sounds, Fabric XL, then under Pads Warm, this is where you can find that particular patch. And this is definitely one of my favorite patches under the Warm category. What I love about playing MPC keys and these kinds of patches is that it's just you and the keyboard and you're really connected to the music. You know, you have all of the power at your fingertips. You have the luxury of having compelling instruments, vast soundscape, and then you've got the power of the MPC sampling capabilities all in one powerful production workstation. So you can just sit down and really embrace the music and come up with the most creative ideas. So I'm going to lay down this pad. This is going to add a really nice texture to our beat. So let's go to record, play and start, and lay this down. So if we hit our grid edit, we can go into our piano roll, so we can view all of the notes that we've played to make up our chords. And then if we press edit, we can now go straight into Fabric. We'll go to our main page. Let's add some textures to our sound. Now let's go to track mute and bring in our melodics. Now let's go to our touch strip, hold down touch effects, and let's press turntable. Let's add some tape stops. Now on our next episode, I'm going to start adding some top lead line melodies over our beat. That's really going to take it to the next level. See you on the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to episode 6 in our MPC Keys production masterclass. So in this lesson, we're going to start adding some top synth melody lines over our track, which is going to add drive and variation. So let's have a listen to where we are so far. So we have our drums, our melodics with lo-fi effects, drone bass and pad textures. So our lead lines are really going to add some texture over the top. So now let's navigate to track 7 and then make sure our track type is plugin. And then we're going to select plugin number 005. And for this, we're going to be using the OPX4, which is our 4-operator FM synth engine. Now to navigate to the patch, if we press the sounds button and then select your OPX4, and you'll see that all of the sounds are categorized. So you can select your leads and pads, etc. So let's go into previews and then page 3, where our preset is. But let's have a listen to some of these sounds. So much richness and depth to that patch. So let's dive straight into the acid lead. Now you can have so much fun with those patches. Now let's go to our main page, and now I want to turn off our quantize, and the reason is that when I'm playing these melodies I'm going to be bending into notes and I don't really want to quantize that kind of playing. So we're going to be playing this unquantized. So let's record this down, hit record, play and start. Now let's go to our grid. We can also access this on the left hand side of the touch UI and use our Q link to expand our view. Now if you press the settings cog in the top right, we can actually set this to follow, so our grid will follow the notes in real time. So now that we've recorded our top melody line, let's press main. We're going to name this. So I'm just going to call this lead 1. And then I'm going to go to track 8. And again, make sure we're on a plugin instance, and we're going to go to plugin number 6. And for this patch, I'm using an instance of Fabric XL, and it's called Square Detuned. So if we press sounds, go to Fabric XL, and then go to page 2 to Leads Classic, and you'll find some of the most amazing lead synth sounds in the presets. So let's have a listen to some of these. So you can have loads of fun with those. So let's select our Square Detuned sound, and we're going to keep quantize off because we're playing the same kind of bended melodies. And this is more of a counter melody, working in conjunction with the top line lead melody. So now that we've laid that part down, we're going to navigate now to track 9, and we're going to use an instance of OPX4. So we're going to go to plugin instance 7. So here's the patch. So we're going to be playing more of a staccato style line that adds some drive over our track. So press sounds, OPX4, and you'll find this patch under the pads category on page 4. Velocity sweeps. So we're all set up to record this part. So hit record, play and start. Next episode, we're going to be using some arpeggiation with OPX4 and some sample-based pads. See you next time. Hi there, and welcome to episode 7 of our MPC Keys Masterclass. So in this lesson, we're going to be using MPC Key's Arpeggiator, drive in a patch from OPX4, and add some additional key group sample-based pads to finish off our music. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to navigate to our next track, which is going to be track 10, and we're going to make sure we're on a plugin instance. And this time, we're going to press the plus sign, and that's going to instantiate another instance of a plugin. So MPC Keys can actually instantiate up to 8 plugins in any project at one time. So we'll go to our sounds button, and here what I want to do now is select an instance of OPX4, and then we're going to go to our category, and then we're going to select our preset sound that we're going to use with our arpeggiator. So I'm going to use dub synth. And this is a really rich, deep synth preset with that real FM texture. So let's turn on our arpeggiator. So if we go into our edit instrument, we can now use our cue links to actually control some of these parameters. Now on cue link page 1, you'll see a box that represents the controls that are mapped to the cue links. And this is a real fast way for you to add some creativity to any of the patches inside MPC Keys. So let's record this down. Now I'm going to go to our piano roll, so press the grid button. And now let's hit record, play and start, and lay down our part. So now that we've recorded that part, let's go to our main menu, and we're going to go to our channel strip. And here we can just balance out our level with the rest of the track. So let's stop the track and let's name our track now. We're just going to call this ARP. Press do it. And now navigate to our home page. So now we're going to actually add some sample-based instruments. So we're going to go to a new track, track 11, and change our track type to key group, which is next to our plugins. So this means that we can now play sample-based instruments that have been assigned across the key bed. And there's a whole bunch of expansions, and you can even auto-sample all of your own synthesizers and bring them into MPC Keys. Now I'm using a patch taken from the Labyrinth expansion called Barbell Pads. And you can hear that this pad adds a lot of mood and darkness to our beat. So we're going to lay this down. So we're going to hit record, play and start. Let's go to track mute and break down the track. Pull out our drums and melodic. So you can hear now that we've pretty much got all of our components together. So if we go to our main page, we're going to name this track. So we're just going to call this Dark Pads. Press do it. And now we've got all of our different tracks together. So let's go back to track 1. So we've got track 1, our melodic, and track 2, drums on 3 and 4, etc., etc. So our track is really now coming together. Now on our next lesson, we're just going to add the final touch, which is some vocal elements over our beat before we get into mixing, automation, and arranging. So see you on the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to episode 8 in our MPC Keys production masterclass. So in this episode, we're going to be adding the final elements, which are some vocal chops and some ambient textures over our beat before we start mixing all of our elements together. So let's dive straight in. So we're going to navigate to an empty track, which will be track 12, and we're going to change our track type back to drums. And then we're going to select our drum kit, which is going to be the Masterclass kit. And then we're going to go to Bank C, where I've got a number of samples that we're going to be adding over our track. So the first one is on pad 16, which is like a drone ambient sound, and this rap vocal on pad 3. So let's go to pad mute. And here I've turned off a number of tracks, so I can just focus on hearing the drums and a couple of the key melodic lines. So let's go to main, and then hit record and play and start, and let's lay this down. So you can hear the ambient droning in the back now. Now add the vocal texture. I'm going to add some sound effects. And I'm probably going to add a cymbal now. Now I've got a cymbal on the top pad here on the left. So let's hit overdub and drop the cymbal in as we do the turnaround. So now that we've added those elements, let's name our track. So let's go to our pencil icon, and we're just going to call this Vocal Effects 1. Then we'll press do it. So let's navigate to track 13 and make sure that our track type is drums. And let's name our track, and we'll call this Low Vocal Effects. Now press do it, and we'll go to our main home page. And now we're going to navigate to Bank B and use pad 15. So we're going to add this over our beat now. So let's hit record, play and start, and lay this down. Come out of overdub, and now let's go to our pad mute and let's bring in all of our other parts. So as you can hear, we've really built up our track from the ground upwards. It now has excitement, energy. So our next step now, we finished all of our tracks, is we want to start looking at mixing all of our levels to maximize the track. So on our next lesson, we're going to be looking at mixing and taking it to the next level. Hi there, and welcome to episode 9 in our MPC Keys production masterclass. So in this lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to use some mixing techniques to mix our beat and utilize some of MPC's onboard effects plugins, which really do deliver studio quality effects directly inside the hardware. And this covers everything from compressors, limiters, reverb delays to lo-fi effects. So let's go to pad mute, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to start mixing by turning off all my tracks, and I'm just going to start with my drums. So now what I want to do, I want to treat my drums as one track, because at the moment they're on track 3 and track 4. So if we open up our channel strip, we can actually see the outputs of where our drum tracks are going. So these are going to outputs 1 and 2, but I'm going to change them to subgroup 1. Go to track 4, and I'm going to do the same. We're going to set this up to sub 1. So now both those drum tracks are going to that subgroup. So we go to mixer, change it from program to submixes, and now all of our drums are coming out of this one channel. And now I've also got a compressor that's now compressing both those drum tracks all on the one track. Now as soon as we engage our compressor, you can hear that it tightens up our mix and it gives our drums a little bit more extra punch. So let's close down our channel strip, and then we're going to go to our pad mute, and I'm going to bring back in tracks 1 and 2, which are our melodies, and see how these now feel together with our drums. So what I want to do now is balance the levels of our melodics. So we'll start off with track 1, going to navigate to there, open our channel strip, and let's bring down this level. And if we go to our effects, we can bring in our half speed. Let's bring our volume down just a little bit more. And now let's go to track 2, our lo-fi piano. And again, you can hear it's too loud. So let's bring this down. Let's hear it with the half speed. Now the half speed's set at 50%. So it's balancing between the half speed sound and the original melody. Let's give it about 80–70%. That feels good. Now we'll go to our drone bass. And we can bring this up in the mix. So now that we've got those elements balanced out really nice, I'm going to go to our master track. So if you press the master icon, this allows us now to add effects onto our master channel. So I'm going to go to an empty slot, and we're going to go down to our dynamics, and we're going to add the air limiter. So let's pull this up, and I'm going to use a preset. It's called My Input Is Too Quiet. I'm going to take down our gain by about 3 dB, turn it off, bring it back in. So there you can hear a massive improvement with the overall sound of the whole mix. So we're going to be working now with our limiter engaged throughout the whole mix. So let's add our bass back in. So now that our bass is feeling good, we're going to go to track 6, which is our pads. Now, a little trick I'm going to add. So let's go to our inserts, and on our pad, you know, some pads can actually really interfere with your low end. So what we're going to do is go down to our filters, and we're going to add an air filter, and we're going to select a high pass filter, which what it's going to do is going to allow us to block out some of the low end frequencies. So we're going to cut our frequency off probably around about like 150. So, you know, even though you might not hear it, it will make a difference when you've got your bass and your kick drum to add some space in this part of the frequency. So let's go to our piano track, and we're just going to adjust the volume, and we're going to give this a subtle pan just to the right. Now let's go to our lead. And you can hear that's way too loud. It's feeling better. Let's bring it in with our second lead. Adjust this right down. Now let's go to our sweeping pad. This is our staccato synth. Let's bring this down. And then bring an arpeggiator. again balance these two elements out. But for the ARP, I'm going to insert an auto pan. So let's go to our inserts, go down to modulation and add auto pan sync. Let's bring in our dark pads. We'll add a pan on those to the right, and then our vocals. Now you can hear that our vocals are getting a little bit lost in the mix. So what we're going to do is go to our pad select, which means that we can now control the individual levels of each of the pads. So what I can do, I'm going to pan actually some of our hi-hats. And then what I'm going to do is go to bank C. I'm going to bring this right up in the mix. There's our ambient sample. So now you can hear it cutting through. And then let's go to track 13 where we've got our low vocal. Let's solo that. So let's hear how this feels in the track. So we can bring that down just a bit. Let's go to pad mute. See how this all feels when we drop elements in. Now, the purpose of mixing is always to make sure that you can get all of your tracks working together, so everything has its own space and you can hear the mix and the clarity and the low end and the punch. So sometimes you might even want to take things out that are crowding your mix. So I hope these techniques have been really useful because you can apply these to your own tracks. So the next episode, we're going to start arranging our beat into a full track. Hi there, and welcome to the MPC Keys Production Masterclass. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through the process of how we take our track and we turn this into a song structure now that we've got all of our music and our mixes done. So to do this, I want to extend the length now from 8 bars, and we're going to press our Edit tab, and we're going to make this 64 bars. So I'm going to double this to 16 to 32 to 64, and that will now give us enough bars to work with. So if you look on our main window, you'll see the bar length is now 64. And then we're going to navigate to our track mute, where we can now turn tracks on and off for each of our parts using our pads. This means that we can create intro, verse, chorus, etc. on our song arrangement. And I also want to use track group, which allows me to take different types of tracks and group them together. For example, I've got drums on both of these tracks, so I'm going to group these to number 1, so they turn off together. Then I'm going to take all of my pads and synths, and we're going to group these to number 2, and then I'm going to group my vocal effects to number 3. And once you've completed that, hit track mute, and now when we press our pads, you can see all I need to do is hit one of the pads that has the group, and it will turn off all of those pads. So what we're going to do, we're going to be using our pad mutes now to build out our song arrangement. So we're going to start with the melodic. Now let's hit record, play and start. Now let's bring our second part of the melody, our vocal, and our drums and bass. Do a drop. Now that's brought in all of our synths. bring an arpeggiator. And now we're going to take everything out to a verse. Bring in our melody to counteract the verse. Now we're back to our chorus. Arpeggiator back in. And now we're going to break down the whole track. Bring the drums back in. And then a final drop. Back to the chorus. And then an outro. So let's stop our track, and now we have our arrangement, which is that easy to do by using pad mutes. So all we need to do is simply play this back and you'll see all of the automation in real time. Then you'll see our piano come in, our vocal, and then our drop. Another technique I'm going to use is pad mute, and this allows us to do the same thing but inside our drum kit. So I'm going to press automation right, and I'm going to drop out the hi-hats in our drum kit on the verses to really give it a much more low vibe. And I'm going to bring them back in second half. Come out of automation. Now on our next lesson, we're going to add some effects and automation over our song arrangement to finish our track. See you on the next episode. Hi there, and welcome to the MPC Keys Production Masterclass. So in this episode, I'm going to be walking you through the process of adding lo-fi plugin effects and adding automation over our song arrangement using MPC Key's touch strip to control many of the parameters, adding the final touches to our production. So let's start by opening up our channel strip, and we're going to be on track 1, which is our melody. And this already has 2 insert effects added from our project files. So if we want to add more effects over this sound, simply touch the UI and an empty slot in our effects. And now you can select from all of the different categories available. So we'll go into harmonics, diode clipper, and there you have it. You can turn this off. Now if we step back, we can just erase that plugin. And now let's open up half speed. Now what I want to do with this sound is I want to automate it in our production so it comes on and off at certain parts of the song. So what I'm going to do is we're going to hold down our Q-Link button, select project, and then Q-Link edit. And here what we can do, we can set up all of the mapping to our touch strip. So hold down the touch strip config button, making sure Q-Link is selected. And now if we hold shift and touch strip, we can now use the pads to jump between any of the 16 assigned controls on our Q-Links. So we've got Q-Link 1 selected. Now we go to program and we select the plugin. And then underneath this, we select the insert. So on insert 1, I've got half speed. So I want to turn half speed on and off from my touch strip. So I select on, then I go to my next Q-Link. And again, I select the plugin, which is number 2, which is going to be the piano, insert number 1, half speed on and off. And then on Q-Link number 3, I want to control the touch strip tape stop. So we go to a plugin, number 1, insert 2, and our touch strip effect enabled. And then I'm going to do the same on cue link number 4, and that's going to be program, plugin number 2, the piano, insert number 2, and the same parameter. So now our touch strip can control all of these. And on number 5, I'm going to go to our top lead melody, and I'm also going to add an effect on this. So what I need to do is go to my main menu. I'm going to go to that track, which is track 7, and I'm going to insert an effect. So go to my inserts, and we're going to go all the way down, and we're going to find touch effects. Enter, and we're going to select an effect, which is tape stop, and we're going to bring this down so we have a slow tape stop sound. And now hold down cue link edit, and now we select the plugin, the insert, and touch enabled. So now we've set up 5 parameters. So now we do shift touch strip. Now I can jump between those 5 cue links, which will all be controlled from our touch strip. So there's track number 1. And now we're going to record these. So automation right. And now let's add these effects. Half speed's engaged. Turn it off for when the beat's building in. Now we'll engage it again. So this is creating even more mood to our beat. Bring it back out. And now let's bring it back in for the verse. You can hear the darkness now across the verse. Bring it out. Brightens the track up. So that's the principle of how we're recording automation with our touch strip. So now I'm going to go to cue link number 2 by hitting pad 2. And this is our piano track. Automation's right in. And now we can engage half speed. Take it off. So this is creating so much mood now to our track. So let's stop that. And now we're going to jump to cue link number 3. And this is going to allow us to do tape stop. There you go. So all we need to do is press automation right and add these in. Number 4, do the same on the piano. Now we'll go to number 5, which is our lead. So now that we've recorded all of our effects as automation, we can turn automation to read, and then we can simply play our track back, and we have all of our automation. Now you can apply all of these techniques over your own tracks, your own beats, and add a whole new level of performance and production to your beats. Now on our final lesson, I'm going to be walking you through the process of how you can export your track or your stems out of MPC Keys to have it mastered or send it to a singer-songwriter. See you on the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to the final episode in our MPC Keys production masterclass. So I'm going to show you how you can now export your finished track as an MP3 or a WAV file, or even bounce it out as stems for external mixing or mastering. So we're going to press our main menu, and we're going to go to Save, and here we're going to press Audio Mixdown. And here we can select all of our different file types. So we're going to bounce this as a stereo out of outputs 1 and 2, as a WAV file, AIF, MP3, and then you can select your bitrate, and then you just simply press Export. Now, if we want to create stems, we can just select Export Programs. We can select our file type, so we could do WAV file. We can select our bitrate, so maybe we do 32-bit float. And now when we press Export, it's going to stem out all of our individual tracks. So we can give the whole stem project a name, so we could just call this Masterclass Stems, press Do It, and then we can select a location like a USB stick or external drive, and then it will export all of our files directly out of MPC Key 61. Now, to learn more about MPC Key 61 and the MPC workflow, head over to the akaipro.com website to the MPC Academy. Thanks for watching this MPC production masterclass. See you next time.